Welcome, everyone. My name is Ricky Shabazz. We are here to select the next president of San Diego College of Continuing Education. We will get started momentarily once we get about 40 or 50 people on the YouTube Live. Speaking of YouTube Live, thank you to our colleagues at the College of Continuing Education for attending. I will go over the formalities and introduce our candidate when we have about 40 or 50 people with us. We will get started momentarily. Welcome, everyone. Well, again, welcome to the forums to select the next president of San Diego College of Continuing Education. My name is Ricky Shabazz. I have the honor and privilege of being the president of San Diego City College, but it's even more so my honor to lead the forums today. We have joining us Dr. Tina King, and so you will have an opportunity to share your feedback for those of you watching live via YouTube. This is also being recorded for those who may not be able to attend the live. They can go back and watch. In either case, on your screen now is the direct link to be able to provide feedback on each of the candidates. And yes, we would love to hear from you, as the Board of Trustees will also be interviewing the candidates tomorrow and on other days. At the conclusion of the interview today, I will talk about the next steps, both for those of you who are watching and to our wonderful candidates. Speaking of wonderful candidates, joining us today is Dr. King. Dr. King, as I mentioned, welcome and congratulations. You are going to have 45 minutes to answer about 10 questions. In addition to the 45 minutes, you'll have 3 to 5 minutes for an opening statement and 3 to 5 minutes for a closing statement. I will let you know when you're at question 6, as well as I'll let you know when you have 5 minutes remaining so that you can present your closing statement. With that said, our first question is from our students, which is the reason why we are here. COVID has been challenging and exhausting at many levels, especially for students that want to learn in person, but have not been able to do so due to mandates and other reasons beyond their control. Do you have any thoughts about innovative ways to get students back on campus learning and growing the curriculum to address these dynamics?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Shabazz, for having me. And I'd like to say thank you to our San Diego Community College of Education, San Diego Community College District, and Board of Trustees for the opportunity to interview for this position that means so much to me. In regards to the question,
Dr. King, I actually made a mistake. So let me go back. I got ahead of myself. The first thing before we get to the question for the students is your 3 to 5 minute opening statement. So let's start back over, and I apologize, and we won't use that time against you.
Okay.
The first thing is your 3 to 5 minute opening statement. Then we'll get to the first question from our wonderful students. So would you do us the honor of providing your 3 to 5 minute opening statement?
Absolutely. So as I was saying, thank you so much. I am Dr. Tina King, and I'd like to take this time to share my personal, professional, and leadership experiences. San Diego College of Continuing Education provides access, equity, and innovative quality education and services. And this aligns with who I am as an instructional leader with extensive student services and administrative experiences. I'm an equity-minded practitioner who prides teaching and learning. And personally, I'm a former community college student who wholeheartedly believes in the community college's mission and vision for access for all. Because of my experience being a student parent going through education, I've dedicated my career to social justice and serving students and communities. And with that, it led me down my path of education. I hold a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies with the multiple subject credential. My master's is in education with the single subject credential, and I received my doctorate in educational leadership with an emphasis in community college, and that was intentional. I've worked in diverse educational communities throughout my entire career, and that's truly what I enjoy most about the work that I do. Over the past 17 years, I've had the fortune to work in every sector of public education, from K-12 teaching at Compton Unified School District for several years, the UC system, the CSU system, and my entry into the community college system was at continuing education. I was given the opportunity to work at NOCE for 4.5 years, and I've served for almost a decade in community colleges. For those that are not aware, North Orange Continuing Education is a multi-campus community college-based non-credit provider within a multi-district college, very similar to San Diego College of Continuing Ed. And during my time at NOCE, I served as the first director of institutional research and planning, and I established the first research department from scratch. I had the opportunity to hire 10 of the most diverse non-credit researchers in the field, and our mission was to give voices to the voiceless. The students who are not oftentimes heard are non-credit students. I was then promoted to serve as the interim dean of instruction and student services and the Chief Student Services Officer. And in that role, I oversaw SSSP, student equity, counseling, research, and IT, and I led our basic needs efforts. And I oversaw our entire Wilshire campus, where we offered our staple non-credit programs, ESL, high school diploma, our emeritus program, and many of our CTE courses. And for the past 2.5 years, I've served as the Assistant Superintendent Vice President of Student Affairs in a single college district at Southwestern College. And as the Vice President of Student Affairs for almost close to 3 years, oftentimes I've had the opportunity and privilege to serve as acting president on my president's behalf when necessary. But Dr. Shabazz, let me share with you my why. And clearly I'm sharing it with you and the world. I'm not actively seeking a presidency. I'm seeking this presidency because it's personal to me. Many people don't know how my lived experiences are closely aligned with our students' lived experiences and why non-credit is near and dear to me. I'm a proud Afro-Latina woman. I'm a descendant of a Black father and a Mexican mother. My mother was an immigrant from another country as an English language learner. Her parents, my grandparents, were manual labor farm workers who migrated to Portland, Oregon from Jalisco, Mexico in 1970s. And she is the oldest of 16 children from the same parents. My mother did not have the opportunity to complete school, but at 30 years old with 5 children, she went to LA Southwest College's non-credit program and she received her high school diploma. And then from there, she went to SCROC, which is a regional occupational program that offers CTE certificates. And my mother got a manager certificate. And for the past 28 years, she's worked as a cafeteria manager at Los Angeles Unified School District. In 2 years, my mother will be retiring with a 401k and pride. And that is the power of non-credit. I'm a direct product of non-credit. I understand firsthand how non-credit changes the lives and the trajectory of the students and families we serve. As a leader in non-credit who has experience from K-12 and non-credit to community college, I am personally committed to continuing the legacy of adult education in our San Diego region. Thank you so much for allowing me to give my opening remarks.
And again, I apologize for my mishap there. I was eager to get into the questions from our students, but I'm glad I caught myself, and thank you for enduring that. I do have the question again from our students. COVID has been challenging and exhausting at many levels, especially for students that want to learn in person, but have not been able to due to mandates and other reasons beyond our control. Do you have any thoughts about innovative ways to get students back on campus, learning and growing the curriculum to address these dynamics?
Yes, indeed, Dr. Shabazz. We know that our communities, Black and Brown communities, were targeted by COVID-19 at greater disproportionate rates. What I would say to this is, number one, the way we have, as the president, the way I would address this in terms of our students' needs and coming back is, number one, safety first. Following our CDC guidelines, watching data, right? So watching the case rates, infectious metrics, because we have different set of challenges here in San Diego. Personally, at Southwestern College, we were the first to make the decision to move to remote operations in the county. And we did that by looking at our data, by aligning ourselves with CDCs. And so strategies that I would employ as the president to support our students is one, that nothing, thinking about this in the space that what we do for one student, it cannot be done for all students, right? So thinking about multiple strategies and multiple modalities because our students have different needs. I would be creative and innovative and looking at ways such as implementing Wi-Fi parking lot zones because many of our students haven't had access to Wi-Fi that is sustainable. Looking at creating and implementing outdoor student study spaces on campus to give our students the opportunity to be on campus in a safe way where they can have their needs being met. In addition to that, creating venues and utilizing technology such as Cranium Cafe so that we can offer student educational plans in a virtual modality. And utilizing tools like Cranium Cafe, again, for different student services through a virtual offering. So financial aid, having them the ability to see a financial aid specialist one-on-one, but we know in non-credit, we don't have financial aid, but other modalities like admissions and records and counseling, right? So also recognizing that some of our labs must be open and back on campus and offering these services the safest way we can, and doing that in a way that we make sure that our students feel safe and our employees feel safe. And we've done this for the past 2 years. Currently at Southwestern College, we have several programs that never stopped running because our students needed those services. And what we did is we made sure that safety was first. We made sure that our employees and our students felt the safety and that we were aligning to the CDC guidelines. So these are just some strategies that would be implemented, but making sure that we would offer multiple modalities and services to our students so that they would be able to come back and continue their education.
Thank you. The next question is from our faculty. What efforts and strategies will you lead, support, and fund to increase student enrollment and engagement after seeing a 50% decline in student enrollment since the pandemic, as well as challenges with current software for students' registration and enrollment processes?
Yeah, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, San Diego College of Continuing Education is not alone. We have all seen massive declines in enrollment across the California community college system. My goal as the president would be to strengthen the distance education infrastructure at San Diego College of Continuing Education. So utilizing San Diego College of Continuing Education as the blueprint in our region. San Diego College of Continuing Education is developing a dynamic, innovative jewel with ICOM. which is a competency-based education that is fast and flexible, and it's what students need to attain livable wages. ICOM can be a model for all non-credits and credit colleges to follow. So how would I do that is by giving faculty, classified professionals, and students the tools to be successful. To develop a virtual online center to support faculty with the tools necessary to be effective, and by building faculty capacity to deliver a high quality distance learning, right? So we can't thrust our folks into this remote world without giving them the support they need. In addition to that, training all non-instructional faculty on Cranium Cafe so that every department of student services is viable online remotely. In addition to that, providing digital devices to our students, training students on using Cranium Cafe, digital services like Canvas, and really using this as an opportunity to engage our students in digital services. The other thing I would say in regards to focusing on how to increase enrollment is by developing a strategic enrollment management plan, right? So not just seeing this as increasing enrollment, but how do we do this where it's sustainable? So some of the things that I know that San Diego College of Continuing Education is really can look at to increase and improve is streamlining the application process. Each program has a separate application, right? So how do we do this where there's one program where students don't have to go through so many different steps? It will help us. And so also looking at how we capture and calculate our FTEs, and really being intentional on how we offer our course offerings. So if we know that our apportionment is funded based on FTEs, really looking at how is it that we're being funded and understanding how we're being funded. And the last couple pieces I will say is by developing intrusive outreach efforts. Every department should have our student support services, like I said, in Cranium Cafe, but not only intrusive outreach efforts, but intrusive in-reach efforts. And creating a massive marketing campaign to update our website, streaming that would allow us to streamline the process, which will also make sure that every student and every family within our service area knows about all of the wonderful programs that we offer at San Diego College of Continuing Education. And, as I was looking at the research, 33% of San Diego College of Continuing Education students identified as English not being their primary language. So making sure that marketing campaign is in multiple languages so that we truly meet the needs of our students and the community. So these are, just some of the ideas that I'll focus on in implementing to increase enrollment and to support our employees in doing so.
Great. The next question is from our supervisors. What role do you see technology will play in education for the future? And what plans do you have for a successful educational institution for the future?
I think technology is going to be very much a part of our future. I've talked about the pandemic and how it created so many challenging times, and it really thrusted us to be innovative in our approach. And how it disrupted our students of color. So it truly is going to be how we operate, and it should be how we're operating now. I see technology continuing to be our go-to. We've seen in the past 2 years that we have to use technology, right? And so I see there being multiple modalities of how we offer education through these technology platforms. So offering lab courses, looking at how we offer lab courses, looking at how we capture our lab courses, looking at how we offer our tutoring services, how are we doing counseling services, how are we doing our student educational plans, right? So not even thinking about it in terms of how our students are doing their open enrollment process, right? How do we streamline that by using technology? And another thing is personal wellness and mental health. I know in non-credit, we don't offer that, but my goal is to bring health services and personal wellness to non-credit because our students need that, but doing it in a way that we can do it by utilizing and elevating technology to allow us to do that, like telehealth or Cranium Cafe. So I see technology being a big part of the fabric of our future for San Diego College of Continuing Ed.
The next question is from our classified professionals. Recently, between district hiring freeze implemented due to budget concerns, retirements both planned and unplanned, the pressures brought on by the pandemic, the College of Continuing Education has seen a marked loss in the number of full-time classified professional contracts. How would you, as president, advocate at the district level for increases to classified professional contracts, especially in key areas related to student services and instructional support?
Yeah, actually, this is the area that I believe we must support the most. At my current colleges, I should say this, one of the key areas that we have to support the most. At my current college, we went through two CERTs, which are retirements, and we did a hiring chill when the pandemic first happened because we were unaware of what was to come. But when you see declines in enrollment, that lets us know that students need to be engaged. And where do we oftentimes see that? Student services is the area where I believe we need to captivate on most of this, captivate and build capacity in order to increase enrollment and retention rates. So focusing on outreach, focusing on our enrollment strategies. And so building the capacity where our classified professionals are, specifically in student services in those areas. As I shared before, we don't offer personal wellness and non-credit, but that's an area that our students need. So building the capacity in student services, outreach, personal wellness, and enrollment. With this, I will be advocating on supporting student services, just as I will with our faculty and supporting our students. But I think in order for us to see our enrollment numbers increase, we have to put our funding where our students are being served. And currently, I just wrote an entire reorg plan for our entire student services division to move us to support the whole student. And how we do this, again, is by building capacity to meet the multiple needs of our students. And that's exactly the way I would approach this as the president of San Diego College of Continuing Education. And making sure that our classified professionals feel as though they are part of the college and their voices are being heard. And that's working with the union as well.
Next question is from the management group. SDCCE serves a very diverse student population and community. How does your experience enable you to relate to our students in the communities we serve?
Well, Dr. Shabazz, as I'll share this, as a participant in the Aspen Rising Presidential Fellowship year-long program, I'm working with educational leaders around the country. And as we focus on issues that presidents face in their careers, such as equity, outcomes, completion, labor market outcomes, and teaching and learning, through this experience is prepared me to operationalize equity as a president. But more importantly, my lived experiences, my 17 years of being an equity-minded practitioner, I've dedicated my life's work to serving our diverse students and advancing equity for students and community. And as the president of San Diego College of Continuing Education, it will be one of my top priorities to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion. My role will be providing access for our students and employees. And I oftentimes say this in many spaces, I believe equity, diversity, I believe we do this by providing access. And I would do that through the means of having clear goals and expectations that prioritize equity and access, by ensuring that our policies, procedures, practices are equitable, and by developing a President's Equity Task Force to provide a vision and a mission on how San Diego College of Continuing Education operationalizes equity in all of the fabrics of our college. And the other piece of it, as the president, acquiring resources to be used to sustain and to create more equitable programs for our students, just as I talked about personal wellness and mental health support, and offering professional development to provide our employees the support and the tools needed to be race conscious and equity minded. And a couple more things that come to mind is really building on how do we serve our students? And that's through basic needs. So looking at equity from a holistic perspective for our students. So focusing on removing barriers for our students, which is equity. And last but not least, I would see this in making data-driven decisions to ensure equitable practices on campus, for example, looking at our data and looking at disproportionately impacted groups and identifying effective strategies so that we can see outcomes that are equitable.
You are about at the halfway mark. Well, you are at the halfway mark. You're at question 6, and you have until 52 after the hour. The next question is again from our students. As the president, how will you get involved with and show support for building up student leadership and supporting student engagement?
Yes, Dr. Shabazz, this is the area that I believe my heart beats the fastest and grows the largest when it comes to our students. As the president of San Diego College of Continuing Education, I will be intentional about my involvement with our students, especially building up our students' leadership and student engagement. I'm an advocate for our students, and I plan to do this in many ways. First, I plan to advocate by having one of our San Diego College of Continuing Education students to serve as a student trustee, similar to the other colleges within our district. I think it is critical and it's important and symbolic to the San Diego College of Continuing Education student body to feel represented in district matters. Also, I see as the president, I would do this by creating a space to have monthly standing meetings with our associated student body leaders, just as I will with other constituent groups. I believe our students' voices are just as valuable and deserve a voice in the college matters. I plan to ensure that our students are visible. I plan to personally be visible and present at our students' events and engagements and attending all of the wonderful events that are put on by our students and supporting those events. In regard to engagement, I'm a big proponent of data, so I plan to conduct a survey to assess our students' needs, such as basic needs and other areas to really understand how best we can engage our students. Oftentimes, I think as educators, we think we know exactly what students need, right? But we need to hear from our students what they need. So thinking about this, we know that our continuing education students, our non-credit students, have competing outside obligations of being parents, working graveyard shifts or working different shifts, but how do we engage them by making sure that it meets their life? And so those are some of the things. In another area that I'd like to see happen is by developing a student newsletter that would be ran by our ASB, but supported by me as the president. I think it would be essential to connecting our students to making sure that all of our students know what engagement opportunities are available for them. Currently at Southwestern College, we've implemented an engagement incentive to encourage our students to participate in events and in opportunities for them because we know they're busy. And so sometimes it's that monetary incentive or other incentives that really can capture them. So again, number one, students, making sure that students' voices are heard and being intentional with the engagement opportunities that are offered.
Next question is from our faculty. How will you participate in, lead, and support participatory governance structures at SDCCE and the district?
Yeah. So first, I want to say I appreciate and respect participatory governance. I feel it is extremely important to ensure, like I've said already, ensure that all voices are heard and represented. My philosophy is that those involved should be engaged in the process. Aside from that, participatory governance per Ed Code and Assembly Bill 1725 is a legal right. And I plan to be an effective in order for making sure that participatory governance is happening and that we're being mindful of that. I plan to make sure that I keep walls of communication open with our different union and constituent groups by communicating, building trust with them. I plan to also exercise a weekly president's message that will provide updates on matters and timely things that are happening on campus. And not only do I plan to have these standing monthly meetings that I talked about with our constituent leaders, but I want to make sure that I'm clear that our students will also be a part of that process. So making sure that there's venues and spaces that offer time for myself and our constituent leaders to have a dialogue and to build a rapport. Because I see constituent leaders, union leaders, they're partners, right? So the way that we get things done for students and how we support them is in partnership. And we're all here for the common good, which is to support our students. In regards to the district, I plan to work collaboratively with the chancellor, the vice chancellors, and my peer presidents, and of course, our board of trustees. I think it is critical that the presidents have a wonderful relationship, and I plan to invoke that and work on that as well.
The next question is from our supervisory group. SDCCE recently went through a strategic planning process where some of the major institutional challenges identified by stakeholders were the existence of silos, the lack of cross-departmental collaboration, and ineffective communication. How would you address this problem?
Okay. Dr. Shabazz?
I'm sorry, I don't know. I must have been muted. Here we go again. The next question is from our supervisory group. Can you hear me?
Dr. Shabazz, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me, Dr. King?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Technology, we won't hold that against you. I'm not sure if it was on my end or your end, but the next question is from our supervisory group. SDCCE recently went through a strategic planning process where some of the major institutional challenges identified by stakeholders were the existence of silos, the lack of cross-departmental collaboration, and ineffective communication. How would you address this problem?
First, I'd like to say that's the beauty of technology, Dr. Shabazz. We gotta love it. Well, first, in regards to this question, in terms of silos and the lack of cross-departmental collaboration, first I would say I would conduct a campus climate survey to assess the students and employees' experience with different campus factors. So to measure the campus environment as it relates to interpersonal, academic, and professional matters. And after the campus climate survey and getting the findings and the results back, I would move forward with soliciting information through other outlets. So hosting campus forums from our students, our students and employees and our community to identify strategies to mitigate these barriers and to remove the barriers of communication and silos. As the president, I personally would make sure I was more communicative by releasing the findings of the results so that as a college and as a collective, we can identify these strategies together on how we can break down these silos. In addition to that, I would be continuously releasing a president's message, like I shared, with timely and informative information consistently for our employees and our students. I would also work with our Vice President of Student Services to implement a student newsletter for consistent and direct communication to our students. And so I think it would be critical for us to assess where we are as a college and truly be approaching this in the way where we would tackle these critical issues, right? Because these crucial conversations that come up or whatever those findings, but really being intentional of identifying what the concerns are so that we could really identify true strategies to remove these barriers. So that is how I would approach this, Dr. Shabazz.
Thank you. The next question is from our classified professionals. Classified professionals often are unable to fully engage in participatory governance, professional development, and other expected and necessary contributions to the college beyond their regular contracted obligations. Describe how you, as president, would support classified professionals' development in ways that go beyond the scope of regular duties and assignments.
Yeah, as a former classified professional, I understand this question well. And as the president, it would be critical that I provide opportunities for our classified professionals, just as I would for our faculty. The contract guides a lot of this. So working with the union is imperative. Working with our classified professionals president and their executive leadership team so that there is, again, a rapport. There is trust being built between myself and the unions and our executive cabinet and the classified professionals. I'm glad to say I have an outstanding relationship with our CSEA classified professional union. And I would do this also in the way of providing professional development opportunities for our classified professionals. By giving our classified professionals the platform and the voice to be heard and seen, I also think is critical. So all of our governance structures, we need to have voices from our classified professionals be represented and a part of the conversation. Currently, I developed an entire professional development series specifically for our classified professionals. And this has been going on, this is the third year, and they meet monthly on Fridays from 2 to 4 p.m. And we engage in intrusive and interactive professional development specifically geared for our classified professionals. And I would continue that same model as the president of San Diego College of Continuing Education.
We are at the final question. What are your core values that drive your decision-making?
Dr. Shabazz, my core values that drive my decision-making, I have to say, number one is serving students, students first. I am an equity-minded leader, and it's also about, my core value is about how I operationalize equity. And my leadership style, I believe I'm a servant leader. I'm here to serve others. And most importantly, being ethical and having integrity in all decisions. Also adding value to my team, my colleagues, and the college-wide, as well as the district. These are my core values that I believe drive my decision-making. And lastly, but not least, is using data to drive my decisions. So looking at trends to help me make the most informed decisions, looking at our past so that we don't make mistakes and make the wrong decisions, right? So utilizing the tools that we have available, utilizing the capacity and the strength of the college, which are those that are in the college. So back to, my core value is doing what's right for students, doing what's going to advance us in an equitable manner, and ultimately being ethical and having integrity at the forefront, and just recognizing my why, which is to be a servant leader.
Great, and again, thank you for those responses to our questions from our constituency groups. We've reached the point where you have an opportunity to provide some closing remarks, and then I'll come back and talk about the next steps. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Shabazz. In closing, I'd like to reiterate my deep connection to non-credit and continuing education, my sincere advocacy for our underrepresented students, employees, and communities. I've shared these things, but I also like to remind you of some of the key aspects for my vision for San Diego College of Continuing Education. As the president, I will focus on enhancing equity-minded practices in our approach to student success, focus on increasing enrollment, strengthening the digital access and equitable digital learning, and also developing pipelines from non-credit to credit pathways. Also leveraging our community partnerships as a non-credit that is critical and essential. And these are some of the things that I will focus on. And, Dr. Shabazz, as I reflect on non-credit, it's been in existence for over 100 years. And I'm moved by the way San Diego College of Continuing Education has performed and what it means to students and communities that it serves. I also share in the appreciation of the rich history of San Diego College of Continuing Ed, and specifically the educational cultural complex building. By knowing that Coretta Scott King came to San Diego College of Continuing Education, and specifically the ECC building, to recognize the legacy and life of her late husband, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1983. And it was because ECC hosted the commission to make Dr. King's birthday a federal holiday. That is indicative of the symbolic representation that ECC has on the community that it serves. This college, the building, it's a historical civil rights landmark. And with this, I'm committed to the communities of Southeast San Diego, to City Heights, Badia Logan, and continuing education students, and the 7 campuses at San Diego College of Continuing Education. I'm committed to ensuring that we continue to offer quality education and providing opportunities to students that we serve, right? So not forgetting about our staple non-credit programs that have been here for so long, our emeritus, our ESL programs, our high school program, our CTE programs, and honing into the richness that those programs have provided to the communities. And with that, I am committed to the community, the students at Baker Elementary, Lincoln High School, or Hoover High School, and the families who use the Mountain View Community Center and Park in Southeast San Diego. I'm committed to making sure that they have a quality education, that educational institution that they do have, but strengthening what we offer and making sure that they feel that this college is for them. And lastly, to the students, classified professionals, faculty, and administrators, I hope to have the opportunity to partner with you all in ensuring that this college continues to be the community's college while still taking advantage of the opportunities of innovation. I think I've shared who I am as a person, my lived experiences, my identities, and all of my strengths that I believe I would bring to San Diego College of Continuing Education. So I'd like to thank you all very much and wish you all great luck in this process.
Well, we wish you all the best as well and appreciate you taking time out of your afternoon to allow our colleagues at the College of Continuing Education to get to know you better and how you align with their values. We wish you all the best. For those of you who are watching live on YouTube, you will receive an email at the end of the day that will allow you to provide some feedback to the Board of Trustees, where Dr. King and all of the candidates will be interviewing next. After meeting with the Board of Trustees, the Chancellor and the Board of Trustees will have an opportunity to determine who they would like to move forward to the last round in this 5 interview stage, which consists of a campus visit and meeting with the folks who get to work with the candidates every day. So again, Dr. King, we wish you well. We appreciate you taking out time out of your day. Good luck to you. All the best. For those of you who are watching live on YouTube, we do have one last candidate. This, as well as all of the videos from the candidates, will be uploaded. They'll stay on the YouTube website where folks can go back and watch it. So Dr. King, if you want to watch your own interview, you'll be able to go back and watch it. We will sign off and we will re-sign back on with the 3rd and final candidate. Dr. King, again, thank you. All the best to you.
Thank you so much, Dr.